This is Brandon Parker. Welcome to the Legends of Land show, where it's my job to deconstruct the tactics of elite land investors, how they think about their business, and strategies that drive their success. My guest today is Jonathan Duong. Jonathan is the founder of the High Value Land Group that has over 12,000 members in Facebook. Probably all of us have seen it. His business is built on simplicity. He does sells direct to builders, and he has a really interesting business model that he's growing now. You can find him online in the Facebook group at High Value Land. And in this conversation, we cover how he's grown his business, where he's transferring out of, some really interesting angles on selling direct to mom and pop builders and also national builders. So without further ado, please enjoy this wide ranging conversation from Jonathan Duong.
The Legends of Land Show with Brandon Parker. Deconstruct the tactics of world-class land investors and learn tools to build a seven-figure land business. The Legends of Land Show is starting now.
Jonathan, welcome to the Legends of Land show. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm blessed. I'm grateful. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yep, absolutely. I found you because you put a lot of value back into the community. You got a killer Facebook group, High Value Land Group. And I was like, I want to talk to this dude and see what's going on. Yeah, that's how I found you and how we're here today. Maybe talk a little bit about your journey, how you got into land, how you got to where you're at right now.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it started back in 2020 when I was transitioning between jobs. I went on the self-help, self-development journey. I started reading different books and I just wanted to go ahead and choose a different path from what I was doing before, which was timeshare. And then I did timeshare resales. I started reading the books that really opened up your mind for me. It was, of course, the Bible and then Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It helped me along the journey. And it just showed me so much that I was missing. So once I did that, I dug deep on YouTube, watching videos of how we can make money from home. That's what I wanted to get into, making money from my laptop. And I got into a couple of videos where I was watching about wholesaling land, wholesaling houses, things like that. I started to watch the videos and I got intrigued and I bought like a little mailer course when I first got started about sending mail to landowners, and their concept was land flipping, actually buying the lot and then listing it and selling it. Yeah, I went that route and I sent some mailers out. And then from there, to getting my first deal was a good 6, 7 months. So it was a tough time. And I wasn't working as well. So there was no income coming in. So of course it was a stressful time, but I understood that good things take time. So at the time, it's hard to see that, but looking back at it, I see how much of a blessing it was. So that's what kind of led me into land. And then started to learn that we don't have to just land flip. We could wholesale the deals and different marketing strategies. And yeah, I've been always intrigued to keep learning because I know there's so many other ways to do this business.
Hmm. What are you up to now? How are you finding your deals and what's your strategy?
Yeah, so right now I send text messages. That's my bread and butter. I also send mailers, blind offers, one-page agreements that will just say, "Hey, my name is Jonathan. I see you on land in this place. We can offer this amount. If you're interested, give me a call." So those are my two main marketing strategies. And my main exit strategies are wholesaling. I'll also land flip where I'll purchase the lot and then list it on the MLS. And then, yeah, those are my two strategies right now.
How do you look at the difference between wholesaling and flipping a lot? If you're going to pay cash or if you're going to try to double end it or double close?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So usually I was wholesaling when I first got started. And just recently this year, actually, I started to take down deals because I started to see that lots were selling more than what my builders were paying. We reverse engineer where we find our buyers and builders first. So we know what we're looking for. And then we'll wholesale it to them. And then basically there's no money out of pocket except what you spend for your marketing and softwares. But then I started to see that there was lots selling for 10, 20, $30,000 more. So I tested it out a couple times where I would just take down the lot because I had some money sitting down, and I was actually able to sell it for probably 20, $30,000 more than what the builder were paying. When I was doing this, I got excited and I started buying all of them because you want to make more, but then you get cash strapped. So you're able to cherry pick. Okay, this one might sell a little bit more. Let me just wholesale this one, and that's how it.
Okay. Talk about that a little bit, how you have the buyers and builders lined up. Talk about what a deal looks like. You find something, how you target it.
Absolutely. So From the beginning, what we do is we start with the market research when we want to see that there's demand going on. And how we do that is we'll jump on something like Zillow.com. We'll use free resources, Redfin, Realtor.com. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the land that has been sold in the last 30 days, especially in Florida, because stuff is always moving so quick. And then once we do that, we'll cross-reference that data with the data of new construction being built. So not only do we see land is being sold, but new construction is being built. Once we see that, we'll go ahead and check the supply, see how many lots are active. And if we feel like there's supply needed in this market, then we'll go ahead and choose that market. So that was step one. Step two is to find our end buyers, our buyers and builders. How do we do this? We use free tools like Zillow as well. And we use things like PropWire or PropStream, where you can look at the cash sales in the last 30 days and see who's actually buying in these markets. We'll reach out to them. Hey, my name is Jonathan. I see that you're buying land in this city. Just wanted to see if you're looking for more lots. They're either going to say, no, not at this time, or yes, what do you have? So once we're able to do that, we're having the conversation of, hey, we don't have anything right now, but just wanted to see what your criteria is. And we send you the lots that they're in your certain buy box, right? So we're just trying to collect data from these buyers and builders, get their criteria so we know exactly what we're looking for. So in a specific market, with maybe 4 or 5 solid builders where we have the criteria, and then we're reverse engineering. We got the buyers and builders, then it turns into the marketing business when we get into sending text messages, sending mailers, and trying to get things under contract. Once we get them under contract, we pitch it to the buyers. Hopefully everything works out. They'll do their due diligence, and then we'll basically wholesale it to the builder.
And so you're basically manually building a buyer's list of builders. How often are they buying when you bring them something that you said you would?
Usually, if it fits their criteria, they'll say, for example, hey, Brandon, we're paying $50,000 for a 10,000 square foot lot. And these are infill lots. So there's a house, a vacant lot, and a house. So
Yeah.
we already know in certain markets, they're pretty good to go. Every market has obstacles to overcome, especially in Florida, whether it's utilities on site or endangered species or like wetlands, for example. But they'll do their due diligence once we have the agreements in place. But usually if it fits their criteria, they're good to go. They do their due diligence and they may close within 45 to 60 days for the bigger builders.
Okay. So their buying price. So you know what you're going to sell it for and to who. And so then you're just going out and hammering that small niche. Oh, you're
Right.
killing it. That's cool. That's actually backwards from how most people do it. Not backwards in a bad way. It's just like you're doing it from the other end around, which is pretty clever. I like that. What type of opportunity is there? How much volume is there? How many deals can people do a month with that type of strategy?
These bigger buyers, there's national builders that you're able to work with. It may be harder to get in touch with them, but once you have that contact and you build that relationship, you close a couple deals with them. They'll send you an email. They'll be like, hey, Brandon, we need 50 lots this month. We're paying $50,000 per lot in this area. So you are, okay, now it's time to get marketing to try to find some opportunities to bring them. Smaller mom and pop builders that don't do too much volume may buy a couple lots a month, but from my experience, they usually pay a little bit more than what national builders pay. But there's so much volume to be done. There's markets where you might make $3,000 to $5,000 on a wholesale deal, but you might be able to close 10 to 12 deals a month. And then there's markets where you can make $50,000 on one deal. Encourage people to do both, to have your volume going on so you're consistently closing deals, but also have these markets where the spreads are bigger and you're able to make a bigger assignment fee. Because in these smaller markets, for example, the lots might be selling for around maybe 20,000. There's only so much you can make in the middle when the lots are selling for 20. But when they're selling for 100,000, you might be able to make a bigger assignment fee.
Hmm. What do you think the sweet spot is for price range types of properties where they're still easy to buy, but you got a good margin?
I always say when I do my market research and I'm looking for lots sold in the last 30 days, I probably put a minimum sales price of around 60,000 where we'd be able to make anything. But then again, I know good friends of mine that got into it. They jumped into markets where lots are selling for 20, but they're doing so much volume that you're able to make the same amount. It just depends on what you would like. Do you want to close 10 deals and make 50,000, or do you want to close one deal and make 50,000? I say do both.
You're just like high level picking counties and you're like, I'm gonna look for infill lots above 60 grand. and then I'm going to go find builders. How do you do that initial research? I guess maybe if you're just in Florida, you might just know every county. How do you think about that initial research, like where to go?
Yeah, so even if we were gonna jump into a whole different state, I would definitely start with the free tools like Zillow.com. I'll go ahead and I'll look at the lots sold in the last 30, 60, 90 days and see the trends going on. That way we can know that there's demand there. And then I'll switch up the filters and then see if there's no construction being built. And then we're able to dive deeper once we are like, okay, this might be a decent market. Let's dig a little deeper into these markets. I use Zillow every day. That's one of the tools I use every day. Redfin, Realtor.com, all these free tools where you're able to just cross-reference all the data and put it together to find these markets where builders are currently in and they need land. And that's how I find the markets I want to jump into.
And I'm not familiar with the new construction data or where to find that in Zillow. What's that look like? How are you doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. On Zillow.com, there's different filters. So for example, you could go to Zillow.com and then you'll go to for sale and then you can pick the property type and you can pick single family homes. And then when it comes to more options, they have a year built filter,
Okay.
but year built 2024 and you'll see all the new construction.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, yeah, then you can reverse engineer and look at builders that already sold houses that were built in 2024. They hungry. They probably want some more lots, right? So
Mhm.
their houses are just sitting on the market. So that's where we get them. And then some markets, they have the builder's name right there where it says this house is being built by this company. So you can just go ahead, copy that, put it into Google, look up the number, search it, and then call them up, make that introduction and see if you could be at service.
Mhm. And are you looking for national home builders? You looking for like regional, mom and pop, or do you care? What gets you excited when you see, oh, that's the builder?
Yeah, I personally, everybody has their own preference, but I like working with mom and pop builders. Why? Because I like to build that relationship with them. I can actually call the builder on the phone and I'm speaking with the owner of the company and we can actually sit down and have lunch. When I'm calling to these national builders, I'm speaking to, they have a land acquisitions department for each, like a couple areas that they're in. So if I wanted to go to a certain market, I'll call a corporate office who handles acquisitions for this area. And then they'll say, hey, you can email this person or call this person. But essentially, you don't have that. You have that relationship with them, but it's not like you know who the owner of the company is because it's such a big company. We're talking about DR Horton, Miranda Homes, like these big companies that aren't just in one state, they're all around the United States.
And so the relationship you build there could be fleeting to some extent. Like you're going to be in some Liberty County, Florida or something. But then if you switch somewhere else, then you've got to build a new relationship with a new person from a new department. Or is there a way to get in where you're the guy for, and they can just bounce between the different places?
That's a great question. From my experience, when you're actually providing value to them and you're bringing them opportunities, they usually let you know, hey, we're actually going to go into this market. So you have that first step in there, or you can contact them and say, hey, I have lots in this market. Do you have a contact for that? And then you guys do business together. They'll give you the contacts. You can have that relationship with them.
Okay.
But then that's a good thought too, because mom and pop builders, they're not national. So when you do build that relationship with them, it's just in their specific market, like their backyard where they can drive to the lots and things of that nature. So it's like a double-edged sword. So that's why I do a little bit of both. But anybody that wants to buy land, I'm interested in building relationships with them. So
Yeah.
I look at it. Yeah.
How high a volume can mom and pops do? I'm guessing they could get fairly big, but what's like that small mid-sized market look like?
Some of the mom and pop builders I've worked with, they started buying maybe 2 or 3 lots, and now they're buying maybe 10 to 15, and now they're like, "Whatever you got, I want it." It's like
Yeah.
they're slowly building up, but it's a pleasure to see because you could start to see them building up, but also you're building up too. You guys are both helping each other grow. So those are the best relationships. If you can meet somebody that's a builder and they're hungry to start building houses and you could be at service and bring them land and they're just getting to this point where they're like, first, I just need 5 lots. Now I need everything. What do you have? So it's amazing to see the growth.
Yeah. That's actually one of my favorite parts about my business. I work with land investors and like when I just catch on with like just a savage and I see them start and then they start just getting bigger and just running alongside them. That's, yeah, that's the best for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Is there a, is there like a middle market I see that the mom and pops and I see the nationals. Is there like people that are not national home builders, but they're doing like serious volume in certain regions?
I also wholesale land to land companies because we get the lots at a price where even if we were to wholesale it to somebody else, they still have the margin to buy it and then flip it on the market, for example. So I see land acquisitions company that just buy land and they don't even build. So they might buy so many amount of lots, and then once they have a package of 30 lots, they might go ahead and then sell all those lots to a builder. But yeah, usually mom and pop builders, they can range from buying just 1 or 2 lots a month to buying 20 to 30 lots a month. But national builders may say, hey, I need 50, I need 100 lots this quarter, whatever it might be. So it definitely varies. And everybody has different exit strategies where some people just buy to flip. Like I reached out to somebody yesterday. I said, hey, are you buying land in this area? They're like, I just flip land. So that I wanted to get wasn't going to work with their business strategy. But then they referred me to a builder. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I'm able to reach out to them and try to wholesale the land to them.
That makes sense. You mentioned packaging land together. Is that a lot of times what the national home builders are looking for? Is I want to buy 30 at once. I don't want to deal with a bunch of transactions. Or are they often buying one offs?
Yeah, they have different departments. Some departments work, they call it like scattered lots or infill lots. They'll buy one infill lot or so. And then they have different departments where they want acres because they either want people to do the entitlements and sell it to them, or they'll do it themselves. So national builders, they have so many exit strategies, so many different departments that handle different things. But there's a department that says, hey, we need some infill lots. Hey, I'd like 5+ acres or so on and so forth. So I haven't got into the land entitlement yet where I'm actually getting land under contract, entitling it and then selling it to the builder. But that's something I'm looking forward to doing, to learning as well.
And do you see yourself continuing to grow in the land and entitlement and working with builder space? Or are you more drawn to the flipping and the subdividing yourself type space? What do you think your next kind of area is going to be to dive into?
I would say I enjoy learning in that with the infill lots. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and of course, there's more to learn, but I feel like there's not much else. There's a mark, right? There's only so much you can do when you're doing infill lots. So I still want to have that running where we're able to close a couple deals a month, but I still want to learn different exit strategies in the land business. There's so many things. You mentioned one that I've been thinking about too, like land notes, and there's so many different exit strategies instead of just wholesaling land that I just want to learn about different exit strategies and possibilities that have to do with land. So right now we're doing the FLIs, but I always want to get into entitlements or just different exit strategies in general when it comes to land. Anything that got to do with land, I'm definitely interested for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that next level in land. It's like people have so many different strategies. See people who become funders and you see people who become big subdividers or developers, entitlements, but it seems like there's always some sort of next level after the infill lots or after the flipping or wholesaling. Yeah.
What I would say with that also is that a lot of people get into that because it's the lowest barrier to entry when it comes monetary wise and intelligence wise.
Hmm.
All you gotta do, let's not make it any harder than it is. You do your market research, you find a builder, he says, hey, Jonathan, I'm paying $50,000. Our job is to get anything under that. That's all wholesaling is. So don't make it any more complicated than it is, right? And then monetary wise, you're able to do this probably maybe $300-400 a month. You could do it for free, but it's gonna be so much of your time.
Hmm.
Can go ahead and get software that make it a little easier, whether you're sending text messages and just skip tracing lists and getting into the business that way. But once you get in there, what I would say is don't get stuck on that. Make sure you're learning and growing, but realize that there's different exit strategies because if we're only offering a cash offer and they say no, and we don't have any other exit strategies, the people that are getting creative that have different solutions are going to be able to get the deal done.
Hmm. How far do you think you can take the infill lots working with builders? I mean, there's also the idea of not expanding too much into different things, but just going way harder on what you're doing. What's that look like at a really big scale, you think?
Yeah, everybody has their own goals, right? Some people want to build a big team and have a maybe a call center or 10 or 12 people on their team where everybody's generating leads and have these overhead and whatever it might be. But me personally, the reason I got into this certain niche that I got into is I was able to travel and I'm able to do business from anywhere from a Wi-Fi connection. That was always from the beginning. Like
Mhm.
I to a niche where if I gotta travel, if my family's here or something happens here, I bring my laptop and I'm still able to work. So that's why I got into the niche that I'm in. And we have a team of three and I'm okay with it. We're doing okay. Of course, we can grow and scale and hire more VAs or our teammates and stuff like that. But it just depends on people's goals. People do well. People have a big team and they might grow into do multiple seven figures and stuff like that. They just might have a more expensive overhead and they might be tied down to one spot depending on how you do it. But everybody has different goals up in the technical limit list for the land business for sure.
So you went to school at Worcester State up in what, Connecticut or Maine or somewhere up deep? What's that
Yeah,
all about?
yeah, I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts. I was born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts. When I graduated high school at 17, 18, I moved out. I came to Florida for vacation with my family, but I loved it so much. I was like, I want to stay. And then I ended up going to Valencia, which is like a community college out here in Orlando, Florida. I did that for a year or so, and then I went back to Massachusetts. I was gonna start there, but we went for a little bit, and then I've been back and forth from Massachusetts so long that college has been in and out. So I never really completed much when it comes to college.
Too busy doing the real business game, so that's cool. They're not teaching land wholesaling in college, right? Huh?
It not took a lot of things that, but to each his own. Some people go. I say if you're going to college and you're doing something that you actually enjoy doing and you love doing, go for it. But when it comes to freedom and real life skills, is I don't see much people that went to college and actually use their degree or things of that nature. But like I said, everybody has their own journey. I'm just speaking from my thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Since you lived up in Massachusetts in the north, what's the land game like up there? I've come across dozens of land investors and I haven't seen any that are flipping land in Maine or Massachusetts. Why is that?
The market out there is very different in terms of what you have to look out for. And then there's not too many builders or developers from what I see, or they just might have a different exit strategy. I was up there for like a month, last month, and I actually got some people from the High Value Land Group together. I was just like, hey, if you guys are free, I got this location, just come up and let's just talk. Let's just mastermind, bounce some ideas at each other. So there's people that drove an hour away towards Boston to come and we sat down, we spoke about it. We spoke about the market out here in Worcester and who's flipping land. There are some people flipping land out there. What I noticed is that there's not much infill lots. Like most of the parcel out there are acres. And then there's so many things to look out for when it comes to maybe slopes or septics and things like that. And then also it's a lot of three deckers and multifamily. So there's not much single family being built there. There is a market because land is very expensive. But if you look at the sales in the last 30 days in Worcester, it might be 10. If you look at sales last 30 days in Orlando, it might be like 500. So
Yeah.
where you're able to pick, okay, I can jump into this market. It might be harder to get a deal, but if you do get a good deal, you're probably going to make a great spread. So it's the same thought as like having a volume market where you're doing little deals, but multiple deals and then doing larger deals, even though it might take a lot.
Hmm. I guess a bigger picture of the thought is probably there's just a lot of that's already developed up there. I mean, people have been up there since forever, and developing, building houses and stuff. So it's probably not just as wide open. Like Florida's got so much open space and people moving down there. It's hot right now.
Yeah.
Um, Outside of the market research you talk about, what's other creative ways that you find deals and do stuff in Florida?
Yeah, absolutely. Relationships, just letting people know what you do. And then also when you're building your builders list, you can let people know, hey, you could post about, hey, my builder needs 50 lots. I can't find 50 lots by myself. So if anybody has land in this area, you can join venture, partner up. And then, yeah, it's just letting people know that you flip land. And if you're good at marketing, you could partner with people that have builders, or if you're good at finding builders, you could partner with people that are good with acquisitions and they come together and close deals that way as well. And then just any articles you see about like businesses being built, or let's say Amazon facilities being built, and you see that there's going to be demand there, you can start to do your research that way, reverse engineer that way. So you can try to get your foot in the door. But yeah, you just got to get creative and stuff. Same thing with the marketing. I always try to let people know to have, when we check for mail, we have the consumer lens on. So we just look and we're seeing what we have. But once you own a business, you start to see things in a different way, especially when you're the one sending mail. So you start to look at the mail pieces like, why did I open this one? This one looks good. It might be fine. Then you start to use that in your own business. So just having that producer mindset and getting creative and understanding that there's so many different ways to do things. So just be open to it.
When you're talk a little bit about your team, like if you're text messaging, let's say, what's your team look like as far as leads coming in, handling those leads all the way through close and dispo?
Great question, brother. Yeah, so we got 3 people on our team. I have a VA that is answering text messages, usually 8 hours a day. Then I have an acquisitions manager that qualifies any good leads and sends the contracts out to lock up the deal. And then I handle dispo. I handle building relationships with buyers, picking the markets, and getting the deal sold at the highest price possible. Yeah, just a team of 3. And then when I send the mailers out, the phone calls that come in, I actually handle those calls myself. I pick up the phone calls. If it's a good lead, I'll dig deeper into it, or I send it to the acquisitions manager to check it out if I'm busy on my end. But small team of 3, I like it. I don't know if I'm gonna add more VAs, but I'm just liking the flow of things right now. So it's been a blessing.
How'd you find your acquisitions manager, and if they're closing deals for you, it sounds, are you underwriting them or are they decided on price too?
No, so the acquisitions manager understands, they have the builder's criteria, so they know what the builders are paying. So it's like they're able to get the lot under that price, then it's usually good to go. We always come across different markets where there's different challenges, and then we'll come together and talk about, hey, this market, go ahead and pull up the wetlands market. There's so much wetlands out here. Make sure it's out of those markets or flood zones, or make sure there's utilities. For example, when it comes to other stuff like endangered species in Florida, that's a big thing. There might be a certain tortoise burrows on the land, so those are protected. So you have to safely remove them and bring them to a turtle sanctuary, which costs like $8,000 per turtle. So yeah, the builders will tell you, I do not want nothing to do with that lot. Yeah, it just depends on the obstacles and stuff. But the acquisitions manager knows running back with the builder to pay, what to look out for, what they can offer, sending out contracts.
I need to get in the turtle transportation game, sounds like.
Now, now per turtle is crazy, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
your own business, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's funny. Where'd you find your acquisitions manager? How'd you come across them?
I say they've been in the business with me since the beginning. With they would do admin work and
Mhm.
they understood the business and now they handle the deal. So it's actually somebody that I know personally. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I tend to find. It's like that position when they're pricing property is a diamond in the rough. It's like people are always looking for how to do that and where to, but a lot of times it comes down to being someone that you trust or that you have a prior relationship with. How do you incentivize them? Do you do any percentage of deals closed or anything like that to have them incentivized to negotiate the last couple $1,000, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when it comes to the VA, gets paid $5 an hour, plus they make 75 to $100 per closed deal for them. Acquisitions manager makes 10% of any of the closed deals, and
Okay,
yeah, that's how we do it. The payment.
awesome. Yeah, that's a slick setup. I've heard a lot of setups, but the VA and then the acquisitions and then the owner doing dispo, I haven't heard a lot of, but you got a cool setup that's a little bit different because you're selling directly to the home builders like that. So that's killer, man. It's simple. I love simplicity. Like I'm all about the simpler the better. So
Absolutely, man. 100%, right?
that's killer. Well, you talked about so you can travel and do your business from your computer. You mainly traveling up to Connecticut area and back to Florida? Or are you like going like Bali surf route? What are you up to?
Man, I'm trying to go there, but no, yeah, we've been on a couple of vacations, some cruises, been out to Mexico and different places. I try to travel once in a while, but yeah, anywhere we go, I bring my laptop. If I got to get some tasks done or make some phone calls, definitely able to do it. We like to do some traveling. We keep the team small. My V is from the Philippines and she's been with us for over a year now. So maybe soon we'll go visit her too, close some deals together in person.
Yeah, I feel you. We're close to, we're way over 20 now, but we got a lot of people in the Philippines.
Mm.
And I think that I'm going to make my way out there and do a little, go see the team because Philippines, I heard, is beautiful. So that's totally on my radar. Totally on my radar, especially because it's crazy to work with people for a year, like you said, for a year online, and you maybe see them every day, video chats and stuff like that, but you never meet them in person. I'm actually really looking forward to that. It's on the radar. Let's talk a little bit about your Facebook group and how that started and how it's going and like what the value add is there.
For sure. Yeah, we started it in October of last year of 2023. I just started it just to document my journey and to meet like-minded people so we can bounce ideas off each other and add value to each other. Um, and then people started inviting other people. I would just post about what I do. I have a little YouTube channel called High Value Conversations, and I post the videos that I make on YouTube on there as well. It's just basically just what we went over, but just like in a more detailed way. I try to just give value for free because I just believe helping others helps you. But then over the year, it's been growing exponentially. I think we're around like 11,000 members now, people helping each other and posting deals, trying to help each other get deals sold. But like I said, what I do miss though is the small community where it's like a certain amount of people adding value to each other, bouncing ideas off each other, and just trying to see each other grow. So we're still able to do that, but how big it's got, you just lose everything, and then messages get flooded. And me personally, I try to stay off social media because it's more of a distraction than anything. But I'm trying to get better with it, replying to people and things of that nature. But the group has been a blessing. It's definitely been a blessing.
What's the coolest thing that's happened because of that group?
The connections, the people I've met, the relationships I've built, closed some deals with some of the people in their joint ventures, making money together, and just what's amazing is when I get messages, when I do go through my messages and somebody's, hey, I watched your YouTube videos from the Facebook group and I closed my first deal, and that feels amazing. And that's why I try to do things just out of love. I try to do things out of love. I don't charge for the YouTube videos. There's people that have courses, and I might do it in the future to get deeper in it. But for now, I'm just like, this is what I do. If you guys need help, post it in the group and we're all here to help each other.
And your YouTube channel, you're just talking through the deals you do, or you're laying out like a roadmap of how you do it, or what type of content you making?
Yeah. So on High Value Conversations, the first couple of videos is how do I get started wholesale land? I'll dig deep onto the market research, all the filters that we talked about. I'm on the loom so you can see what I'm doing, how I pick my markets, finding buyers, doing marketing, finding sellers. And then if I close a certain deal, I'll bring the backstory of how I got the deal, how I got the deal sold, how much we made, things of that nature. So just documenting the journey as well over there.
Okay, I see. That's killer. That's a great resource, especially if someone listens to this podcast and want to get some angles on that. That's cool. So it's a great spot to go. We have a cool thing we do where we pass a question from the last guest to the next guest. And so your question is coming from Eddie Speed. Eddie Speeds did land notes for 40 years and just crushes with land notes. And actually, you talked about maybe being interested in those. I would listen to that Eddie Speed podcast because he's a G. He had some cool angles on it. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the land notes these days that he has opinions on. He's got what he says is the right way to do it. So he's worth listening to. But Eddie asked you, how does what you do add value to the world?
That's a great question. So as you can see by the group, High Value Land Group, High Value Conversations, I've always went in that mindset how I can be at service to others and how I can add value. And for example, going back to what we spoke about earlier, is the people that actually take the time to watch the videos that we posted for free and actually take action and actually out of love reach out to me and say, hey, I'm not sure if you'll even read this, but I just wanted to let you know I watch your videos, your free content. I was able to close my first deal. It helped so much. I'm able to do this and this for my family, and I definitely want to expand and things like that. The knowledge is free, and it's just putting the knowledge together for people to actually take action. And so I feel that's my way of adding value. But of course, I like to take people back to what I feel is the truth is God is always going to be in first place, and you should always remember that God is most important in your life. So I try to always let people know whatever I do, it's not by my own strength. Just I'll glory to God always.
Awesome. I was going to circle back to your initial comment that you read 2 books and then started getting into the business, Rich Dad Poor Dad and the Bible. What were like maybe a couple core lessons that you took that you were like, okay, I'm going this direction from those books?
Yeah, in the Bible, of course, that's something I try to read every day. Is most important to me. But you start to learn things that are good for your life that also translate into business. For example, being slow to speak, slow to get angry, but quick to listen. Because when we talk, we're already speaking about what we know, but when we listen, we're learning, right? So things like that. But just understanding what's most important to you. And then of course, Rich Dad Poor Dad, it just changes your whole mindset about assets versus liabilities, how to grow when it comes to financially and just how to do things in a way where you weren't taught in traditional school and college and stuff like that. So it's just the truth of the Bible and then the lessons in Rich Dad Poor Dad definitely helped me to where it just changed my mindset overall. I want to get around people that are actually doing the thing that I want to do. Robert Kiyosaki calls those real teachers, right? Because we were talking about it. Some people go to school to learn business from a business professor that never owned a business. So he calls those fake teachers. So I like to learn from people that are actually doing the things that I want to learn.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so on board with that. I mean, that's one of the main purposes of my podcast. I just like swoop up people that look like they know stuff I want to know, and I just ask them a bunch of questions. It's the best thing. It's the ultimate hack. What's my next interview is going to be with, actually, I don't remember who it is, but we got one coming up. Let's pass a question on from Jonathan to the next guest. What would you say or ask?
I would ask, how can you be more at service to those around?
Love it. And the question I ask every guest towards the end of the show is if you could post one message, it would go on Twitter, whole world would see it. So it's got to be concise. What would you say? Post on Twitter for everyone to see.
I would say Jesus is Lord, and anything that is meant to be will be. So don't stress too much.
I like it. You got a good vibe, and cool business, and good community you've built, Jonathan. So it's been a pleasure to meet you. Where can people find you, and any final thoughts for the people listening?
Yeah, for sure. You can contact me on Instagram. It's the letter J, wholesome, WHOLSOME. You can join the land Facebook group, High Value Land Group, and then subscribe to the YouTube channel, High Value Conversations. And I would leave it with, if you guys want to join the land business or you guys want to start a land business, it's more than possible. There's so many great resources out there. Brandon Parker got a great podcast where he's bringing out people and him himself has knowledge, and we're just putting the knowledge out there for you. It's just about taking action, taking the first step, and then failing forward.
Big time. All right, Jonathan, great to have you on the show. And until next time, my friends, have a good day.
Thank you.
The Legends of Land Show.